Did Jesus really die?
Yes. And I believe that's a pretty solid historical fact that's not only attested to in Scripture, in our Bible, but also in extra biblical sources.
You weren't there. You don't know.
You're right. I was not there. So, so Josephus, a Jewish historian.
Oh, you were there.
In the late first. Yes, that's me. I've been alive for a really long time. Aging very well. And so, but Josephus, the end of the first century, he's a Jewish historian, and he's writing about the fact that Jesus was a literal man that was on earth and that he did die on a cross, that he was crucified. Right. Okay?
Killing someone's easy.
Right. We have a Roman historian in the 2nd century who's attesting to the same thing. And so I feel like it's pretty well attested to.
Was he
Jesus
bragging?
Was a I don't think he's bragging as much as he's just like,
yeah, we killed him.
Like, yeah, there was this guy, he had a following, he was killed.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's because this guy's writing about the whole Roman Empire. So for him to even mention Jesus, to be honest with you, is a pretty big deal. Like,
okay,
that's happening in a little small random part of the Roman Empire, and yet he still records the fact that it happened. And so, yeah, I think the historical evidence, the historical fact of Jesus dying is pretty undeniable.
But that's not the important part.
Yeah, I mean, because if he just stayed dead, he was just dead.
Right. It was just a guy that got dead.
Yeah, they killed.
Yeah.
So,
which they did all the time.
They did crucify
in the
a lot.
same way to lots of people. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so this other part of Jesus and Easter and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so did he really come back to life?
Yes.
You weren't there. You don't know.
You're right. I was just seeing how much I can get away with just answering it as yes and leaving it there.
Right.
Okay, so a few different reasons I say yes.
All right.
Number one is that in all 4 Gospels, the initial witnesses to the empty tomb were women. And to us, in our modern lens of reading, no big deal. That doesn't catch us, off guard or anything. But back in that day and time,
of course, it shouldn't catch us off guard.
Right. Of course not. And so
women are just as capable of noticing that someone's dead as we are.
Okay. Yes. And even back then, that
Moving
was the case. All right. Stick with me for the historical context of this.
Okay.
Though. All right.
Do I even want to hear this?
Yes, you do. So women were not viewed as reliable witnesses during this day and time. Okay?
Okay.
And so like their reports, their eyewitness accounts held no validity in or weight in courts or in documents or any their word didn't matter. Okay.
So that's why there's no women in the Bible.
Just what? No, there are women in the Bible.
There's like 3 of them.
And they're all named Mary. No, there's lots of women in the Bible.
Yeah, no, there's not.
That's why the Bible is so cool.
Yeah, but all they ever did was get pregnant.
That's all? That's all they ever did.
Yep.
Yeah, like Mary Magdalene.
And screw over everyone forever. Eve.
Thanks, God.
Yeah.
And so, all right. But
we got to do an episode about women in the Bible.
We do need to do an episode about that because I think the Bible is...
God really hates them.
No.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. No.
He really hates all of them.
No. Okay.
He talks about a couple of them and then he's like, okay, at church forever, shut up. Just come and sit down.
No, that's actually not true.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get into it.
We will get into it.
All right, anyway. Did Jesus come back to life?
That's a whole different subject. Anyway, women not seen as reliable witnesses, okay, or reliable sources, and yet every gospel writer includes them as the initial ones who find the empty tomb.
Okay.
And so what I'm saying is,
so that's how we know it's BS.
If you were wanting, right, to try to convince someone of something, you would not include women as the witnesses.
Did women believe other women? Because you're supposed to believe all women.
I'm not going to even answer your question. All right, so for the fact that every gospel includes women as the eyewitness, as the initial eyewitnesses, is a huge statement. Because if they were just trying to create a story, like if they were making up a story, in other words, the writers of these gospels were making up a story, Jesus really didn't rise from the grave, but they want to try to convince people he did, you would not include women in this story as the eyewitnesses.
There'd be like 500 men.
Right. And they would all be like, yeah, we saw them.
Yeah, that were all separated into different interrogation rooms and all said the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So that's the first one.
All right.
All right. So the second thing is that the Romans actually believed his body was gone. Like, they believed that the body or that the tomb was empty.
When? At what point?
Initially. So in Matthew 28, it speaks about the fact that the guards came to the chief priest and informed them of, hey, that tomb's empty. And the chief priest then bribed them.
Wait, when is this?
So this is like...
So he dies, they stick him in there, and then they put a rock in front of it. And then the guards are like, I don't think he's in there anymore.
No, okay, no. So, yeah, you're right. Okay. They kill him, put him in the grave. They were worried that his disciples may try to remove his body. So they put the stone over the tomb.
Why would the disciples want to remove his body?
They were concerned because they had already heard conversations and language of Jesus saying that he was going to rise in 3 days. Because he prophesied it.
So the Romans thought that the disciples were going to weekend at Bernie's Jesus around town?
I mean, I guess so. And so, but enough to where they put guards around
with
him.
Sunglasses on?
Yes. That's exactly what they were concerned about.
I'm alive!
Here I am. And so,
Jesus, no, he can't talk. He's still kind of dead.
Yeah, and so
he's got to take a bath.
So they put guards around him. Then an angel appears. Okay, angel appears
to the guards.
To the guards.
Oh, okay.
First day, he appears. Stone rolls away. Guards freak out.
Okay,
obviously, and then they're going off to report the fact that this tomb has been opened. It is empty. Jesus not there.
Okay.
Okay. And so right from the get-go, there is the knowledge by both Jews and Romans that this body is gone. Okay?
Okay.
Because if it was the other way around, right? Like, in other words, if this was just something the disciples were creating, they were just making up a story that the tomb is empty, but Jesus was really in the tomb, all they had to do was go to the tomb, open it, look. Jesus would have been in there. The Jews or the Romans could have seen that and been like, no, he's still here. Y'all are all liars. Because this tomb is it's near Jerusalem. So it's right near where Jesus was crucified. So
if he was gone,
right,
why didn't they just find some other guy
and been like,
look, he's still here.
Look, he's still here.
He didn't rise from the grave.
Yeah, maybe they should have thought about that.
They could have found some other dude that looked kind of like Jesus and poked holes in his head, and, like the crown, and whipped him a few times, and then stabbed him and stuck him in the tomb and been like, no, that's Jesus.
Right. Yeah, they could have. They didn't. And so
they're idiots. And they run the place and they couldn't figure this out.
Right.
They killed so many people.
Right. And instead what they did was they bribed the guards and said, if anyone asks, tell them that his followers came and stole the body.
Why would that be a good explanation?
Because that would explain why the tomb's empty. But yeah, I agree, but it doesn't leave you with anything.
But if he happened to be alive, they'd be like, yeah, they stole his body because he's alive.
Right.
They didn't have to steal his body. Here
right.
He is.
And they knew they killed him. I mean, they ran a spear through him. So.
Well, that's a stupid explanation.
Yeah.
Someone was panicking.
Oh, there was definite panic. No question.
Idiots.
Every one of them. So
they deserve for Jesus to come back to life because they're so stupid.
So you got women as witnesses, Romans and Jews believing his body is gone. There's the sheer number of witnesses that attest to the fact that they saw Jesus. So in 1 Corinthians 15, it speaks of over 500 witnesses seeing Jesus. And that's not including his apostles. All right.
Okay, so none of this, all of this is Bible stuff.
Sure.
So if I don't believe the Bible, then why would I think that someone came back to life?
Yeah, well, you didn't believe the Bible, but again, if it was really that big of a, like, if the body really was there, Romans or Jews, just, again, they could have proved that his body was still in the tomb.
Right.
Okay. One. But then second, the apostles are willing to die brutal deaths for it. Okay.
What?
Okay. So all the apostles are martyred. They're killed.
For believing that Jesus came back to life.
Correct. Now that was their proclamation.
All of them?
All of them.
Except Judas.
Well, Judas because he killed himself.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yes, all the rest of them are martyred.
So he just got that out of the way early.
Yeah. Just don't forget those. No. But he was, I mean, obviously full of despair and everything else. But so Judas kills himself, but the apostles are all martyred later on. So like James is beheaded. The story goes with Peter that he's actually crucified upside down. There's stories of some of them actually being sawed in half. And so
I saw a woman sawed in half once.
Did you?
Yeah. She was fine.
Yeah, right. It wasn't real. And so, this was real. And so, there's the apostles are dying brutal deaths. Okay. Now, and I know that the initial thing can be, well, what if they were but people do die for things they're convinced of, right?
Right.
So what makes this difference? But they would have to be knowingly, willingly dying for a lie. Because they're the ones propagating it.
Are all these martyrs in the Bible too?
I mean, are they martyred in the scriptures?
Yeah.
Just James. So
how do we know all the rest of them were?
Yeah, because you have truckloads of other historical evidence that speaks about their deaths.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is other evidence.
Yes.
That Jesus came back to life based on martyred disciples.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's an apologist named Sean McDowell. And Sean McDowell did his whole dissertation.
We forgive you.
They did a thing on Sean did his whole dissertation on the martyrdom of the apostles.
Okay.
So go check out, you can go check out Sean's, look up Sean's info, and he's got videos and that kind of stuff on it. So
okay.
Yeah, he's got his PhD, teaches.
So if I think all of that's not credible,
okay,
and the Bible's not credible,
right? Yeah, and
this is where the faith part, right?
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely. Because we could sit here and go into like 20 different things of why I think there's a valid argument, a reasonable argument to be made for the resurrection of Jesus. Because the question then is, well, if he didn't rise, like if he wasn't alive, what happened?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where I'm supposed to have an answer.
Yeah.
Okay, if he didn't rise from the dead, what happened? He decayed really quickly.
In just a couple of days, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 3 days.
3 days. I'll see if you catch it. So, all right. Yeah. And so, yeah, it is 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
You come around. Yeah. So I think all of this, like, because then you have the other theories, right? All right. Well, was his body stolen? And we've already talked about that.
Yeah.
And well, were they all hallucinating? You know, individuals have hallucinations. Groups of hundreds don't have hallucinations together. And so I think the hallucination theory
I don't know, man.
Crazy.
You ever been to Burning Man?
Everybody's hallucinating, yeah. But, and then, you know, you got the thought of, well, maybe he just wasn't fully dead. Maybe he was just mostly dead and got himself out of that tomb.
Right.
Right. But the reality is he has been beaten and crucified. And
they really wanted him dead too.
Yeah. And to
like
ensure that he was dead, right? Spear goes through him.
Right.
And so through his side. And so yeah, he's dead.
Okay.
And let's say somehow crazy he wasn't dead. They took him, threw his body in there. He was just mostly dead. He'd have bled out.
He would have. Yep.
You know, and he's definitely not getting.
He should have bled out
earlier. Well,
hours ago.
Yeah, and what he did more than likely was suffocate on his own blood, and so, and because the lungs would have just been full of it. So, anyways, but so he was definitely, and even like he's not getting out and like removing the stone or moving the stone away with like dislocated shoulders
but he's Jesus.
Yeah.
He could have just done his.
Oh, so you mean if he was God?
His magic.
Yeah.
Oh, if he was God. Right, because he could have do all those
things.
So he would have been able to come back
and he would have been God.
Right.